Donald Trump isn't the problem. Never has been. The problem is found in the Constitution. I'll tell you where in a few minutes. 2016 has been an election year, the likes of which we have historically never seen. Some things, though, believe it or not, actually still hold true to tradition. Among them, the term race, as in the race to the White House, or for the White House, depending on how far into your cerebellum your English teachers were able to penetrate. This time around, and especially in light of ongoing developments, the term still applies, but it doesn't mean what it has traditionally meant. The race to the White House is no mere marathon run between two candidates. This contest is now a bona fide, no doubt about it, slap my butt and call me cheeky race against the clock, and whether Donald can beat that clock. Put simply, two things are certain. November 8th is going to arrive right on schedule. Donald Trump's candidacy is going to continue to melt down. The race this time around is to see which occurs first. Should he actually still have any credibility left at all by Election Day, those of us who've been alarmed since day one about his involvement in this election are still cynical and or concerned enough to believe that there could still be enough people who simply don't understand what's at stake here, that he could, in fact, win the election. And if you're not a Trump supporter, and if what I just said sounds ridiculous to you at this moment, you have honestly not been paying attention to what's happening in your nation. 1 year ago, the notion that Donald Trump could even be considered a possibility for the nomination for president was, wait for it, ridiculous. And it's 1 year later, and wait a minute, hold the phone, stop the presses. Who dat GOP nominee walking in these woods? Well, kids, it ain't Little Red Riding Hood. For the last 2 weeks on the radio show, I've been hitting it pretty hard and heavy about what I believe to be the shortcomings of the man, his complete and comprehensive inadequacies for the job of being president, and the honest-to-God danger I believe we are in should he win. And I'm appreciative to all who listen to the show and have not only shared their opinions with me, but who have indulged me with my hitting it pretty hard and heavy. But like a lot of people, including this past week, the twice freely elected current president of the United States have said, I'm saying it now too. At some point, enough is enough. I'm done trying to talk you out of voting for Donald. From here on, I don't think a thing I say is going to make even a tiny dent in your resolve to see this through with him. If everything he has already said and done hasn't convinced you to walk away, I don't flatter myself for a second that anything I have to offer will persuade you. As the old saying goes, you do what you got to do. That said, though, fair warning that I'm not going to stop talking about Donald, or Hillary, or Barack, or Jim Bob, or Mary Ellen, or John Boy either, for that matter. First, because whatever else it is or isn't, it's what people are talking about, and that's what talk shows talk about, what people are talking about. And second, because whatever else this is or isn't, it's funny. Admittedly, in that way that watching somebody get hit in the balls is funny, but funny. At least I plan to do my best each week from now until November, and God forbid after that to find as much humor in all of this as my own cerebellum will allow me, because at some point, sometimes, laughter is all we got. So there's that. Now, back to that problem I mentioned at the outset. Take all the questions that are being asked by all the people asking questions across this country and around the world about this guy, and for my money, you can take all of them and put them where my daddy used to tell people to put their sorries.
Stuff your sorries in a sack.
There's only one question that really is worth an answer anymore. No, not why does he say the things he says. He's Donald. Always has been, always will be. No, it's not why doesn't he realize he doesn't have to be an asshat to have a pretty good chance at winning. He's Donald. Always has been, always will be. No, not when is he going to realize he's burning down his own chances every time he opens his mouth lately. Never. He's Donald. Always has been, always will be. The question that deserves an answer goes something like this. How did he ever get this far in the process? Even the most obtuse people in this country know that this guy is outrageously out of his league, out of place, and somewhere he absolutely has no place being. A duck out of water, a bull in a china shop, a cold sore at a kissing contest. And that includes the lion's share of people who are still wanting to vote for the guy. Just last week, a caller to the radio show graciously shared that A, he was still a supporter, and B, Donald needs to just knock it off with all these moronic things he is saying and doing, things that are only going to do him damage in the long run. When those who support you have to start fighting the urge to look down at the ground when somebody asks about you, you're probably not doing yourself any favors. But again, nothing is going to change the fact that Donald is Donald. always has been, always will be. So, back to the remaining question. How did he ever get this far? Right time, right place? Sort of. But that's not the real key to the puzzle box. The real key to the puzzle box is that Donald came along at the right time, to the right place, but he said all the right things, because that's his only talent, for lack of an applicable word, manipulation. Like any really good salesman, or anyone who needs you to buy what they're selling, whether it's a product or a promise or an idea or an excuse. Anything they want to sell you, they tell you what you want to hear. We're all wired to be attracted to that. Quick check, show of hands. How many of you have given at least some consideration to a product you saw advertised on TV in the last 2 or 3 days? They want to sell me, so they manipulate me by telling me what I want to hear. And I just know that that golf doohickey is going to be the one that'll make me a world-class player out there. I believe it because I want to believe it, not because it's true. We are all wired to be attracted to those who tell us what we want to hear. Some immediately resist, some are tempted but give it some thought and wait and see, and some go all in, buying it and convincing themselves they believe it because it feels good, it sounds right, it's the fix they believe will cure their ills, save their bacon, make their lives better and safer and easier, and deal with those things that make daily life so difficult. Things like the fact that, for example, people are struggling. Guess what? People are always struggling. People are frustrated and angry. Guess what? People are always frustrated and angry. People are worried about how to pay their bills or send their kids to college or get good health care. Guess what? People are always worried about how to pay their bills or send their kids to college or get good health care. People are afraid of terrorists and what they'll do next. Guess what? People are always afraid of terrorists and what they will do next. It's called life. And it's full of joy and love and compassion and forgiveness and giving, as well as heartbreak and struggle and challenge and unhappiness and tragedy and adversity. These are universal and never-ending facets of the lives that we live, the lives that we have been given. And no man or woman, no mere mortal human being has it within their power to take away your struggles or your frustrations or worries or fears. But America in the year 2016 is not the America of 1932, when the only thing we had to fear was fear itself. It's not the America of 1961, when we answered with one voice when we were told not to ask what our country could do for us, but what we could do for our country. It is not the America of 1987 that cheered a president who sternly and bravely publicly told another leader to tear down this wall. And it is not the America of 2001, when what petty bickering there was between us, the kind of petty bickering that happens every day in any everyday American family, that bickering disappeared instantly as Americans, white, black, gay, straight, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, stood together in the rubble and the smoke and demonstrated by that standing together that we could not, would not be intimidated. That evil could knock down our buildings, knock down our airliners, knock us right down to the ground we named zero, but they could not and would not keep us down or turn us against each other. This is the America of 2016. It is an America that not only fears fear itself, but fears words that might ruffle someone's feathers or offend their sensibilities or, God forbid, hurt someone's feelings. So we're told we have to watch our words and say only the right words, whatever the hell the right words are at any given moment. It is an America that not only asks what our country can do, but expects, feels entitled, even demands to know what our country will do, expects to be given a trophy just for showing up, given the lightest sentence no matter the crime, have expiration dates put on lifetime bans, be provided with every creature comfort, easy path, obstacle-free journey to anything and everything, any and every hour of every day and night. And freedom? Well, hell, man, we wrote the book on freedom, and the America of 2016 not only expects, it assumes freedom. All of it, all the time, as much as we want. The old tried, true, traditional freedoms, all of them, all the time, and the new freedom. Freedom without accountability. Freedom without responsibility, freedom without ability, freedom without sacrifice, contribution, or cooperation. The America of 2016 is an America that not only can't see the forest for the trees, it can't even see the trees because these days it doesn't even look up from its phones. An America that can't be bothered facing or, God forbid, dealing with challenges like learning to respect, appreciate, even get along with those who are a different color or gender or sex or religion. An America that knows every single name of every single reality TV star but doesn't know the name of their own congressman or senator or vice president. The America of 2016 is an America that expects unpleasant business to be taken care of instead of finding a way to take care of business. Expects to be protected instead of standing up and stepping up and banding together. Expects to have concern, worry, and fear picked up by the truckload in the middle of the night and deported out of our comfort zone. Expects a wall to keep us safe from possible danger without ever giving a thought for a single second that walls serve at least two purposes. They can, in fact, sometimes keep things out, but they also provide a way for us to tremble and hide from what we should be facing up to. Oh, and make that three purposes. Walls divide us. In the America of 2016, Donald Trump has gotten as far as he's gotten because he's been telling people what they want to hear. Enough people, obviously, to accumulate the vote totals necessary to win primaries and win a major party nomination. But even many of his supporters now are beginning to see and hear the man speaking those words. The America of 1932 would consider him a fearmonger. The America of 1961 would consider him self-absorbed. The America of 1987 would disregard a man who wanted to build a wall when there were already at least one too many walls. And the America of 2001 would consider him a petty, vain, insecure excuse for the kind of American, white, black, gay, straight, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, who were standing together, arms locked, victorious in the aftermath but not vindictive, determined in the aftermath but not demagogues, patriotic in the aftermath but not pandering to and manipulating with the very fear those cowardly, radical, extremist Islamic terrorists expected to result from hijacking those planes. The very fear that somehow, in the now almost 15 years since those planes flew into those buildings and that Pennsylvania field, has somehow been allowed to fester and reinfect the American bloodstream. The kind of fear that makes people want to tremble and hide behind walls, make bad choices, succumb to anger, panic, even desperation. The kind of fear that makes it sadly and dangerously easy for those who know how to tell us what we want to hear to step up to a microphone and convince millions of people that he alone can make all those problems go away. Donald Trump isn't the problem. Never has been. The problem is found in the Constitution. The first three words, we, the people, of the America of 2016.